What's up, guys? Welcome to another episode of World Scholars Cup, part 2 of the special area curriculum. And today we're going to be talking about a few of the most important mysteries and basically the bulk of the entire curriculum. Now, this video is actually pretty long in length. At least my script is now, like 9 pages long. So I wouldn't recommend you skip any part of it, and I would strongly recommend you rewatch it multiple times. That way you can fully understand the concepts that I'm talking about. You're also doing yourself a disfavor by researching more terms that I've already spent myself researching in this video. So keep that in mind when you're watching this. Okay, up at number 1 are the Great Pyramids of Giza. How are they built? Why do they look like Dorito chips? Why does the thumbnail of that video where the Great Pisas are actually fake make me want to question my entire life's existence? I can also confirm that they did not come from aliens, as there is evidence that humans built them. Or is there? They first built the base of the pyramids by making right-angled triangles at the base and then leveling it off by using a level with string and rock. Pretty simple to make. Then you need to get tons of rocks from quarries nearby and get thousands of men to start stacking them up over and over and over again. These pieces of limestones were cut by copper tools, while ramps around the pyramids were built to drag the rocks to the top of the structure near the end by wetting the sand. I can confirm that they were not built by aliens, because why would we waste any time building a structure? I mean, why would they waste any time building a structure that for human beings? I mean, it's not very productive, bro. Oh my gosh, I don't think I'll get through this entire video. So the Stonehenges were built by first digging holes in a circle where the stones would be inserted crookedly, and then people with ropes and frames would pull them up upright to fit into the holes. The stones at the top were hauled up there by using planks to move them up to the top, which then the planks were removed. There were then holes added at the top to make them fit perfectly. What is the meaning though? It was first thought that it was started in 3000 BC and then ended somewhere around 1500 BC, also known as a lot of time. So the stones were most likely quarried from 30 to possibly 200 kilometers around the area that they were hauled up to. They were most likely transported by the sea or the river, or by land by putting rocks under them and just hauling them up the mountain. The site itself was used probably as a burial site because there were tons of remains of dead people found across the area. However, it's still unknown why they were built. I mean, still, I doubt aliens built them, because why would we waste our time helping these people build this unknown rock structure? It's not efficient, bro. I mean, if you were probably an alien, you'd be busy paying your taxes, taking care of alien babies, blowing up intergalactical civilizations. You'd be doing all these stuff, and you wouldn't really care about helping a bunch of multicellular beings carry old fragments of rock up a mountain. I mean, if you find it hard to just sit down for 30 minutes and do your homework, why would you spend 1,500 years helping people move rocks? So the Hanging Gardens are these huge gardens in Babylonian Mesopotamia. It is unknown if they existed, as there are no first-person records. However, there are some vague Roman records that they might have existed. It was also unknown how the gardens were kept lush, as you would need over 8,000 gallons of water to keep it running in that hot sun every day. However, if this was true, the question comes to, how did they manage to bring all the water? The Zuni language is an Aboriginal language spoken through many people in Mexico, and it's actually very similar to Japanese. There has not been any strong evidence to support this claim, but what is weird is that it is not similar to any language in the area, which brings the theory that the Japanese might have sailed over and met these people in the process before Christopher Columbus interbred with them, with this specific tribe, and spread the language and possibly culture. Next up in the curriculum are called the Nazca Geoglyphs. They are these carved out lines into limestone in Peru, which are just truly huge, upwards of covering up to 1,000 kilometers squared. They were created between 500 BCE all the way to 500 CE, and their true origin is unknown. They consist of animals and figures, and it was thought that maybe the Incas or any other nearby tribe might have made them. One theory suggests that they were used to transport water, yet my real question with that is, why would you transport water in the shape of a monkey? Moving on is the Flying Dutchman, which is this mysterious ship most sailors would see right before they died. The story is that in the 17th century, a ship called the Duchess sank, and then the ghost sank with them, and now the ghost ship has come up and is now haunting everyone. Many people in the 17th, 18th, and 19th century reported seeing it right before a terrible storm that would ultimately take their life and kill them. As I talked about in my previous special area video, you can check it out right here. I mentioned that the reason why this happens is because of something called the Fata Morgana, which basically makes ships in the far distance look as if they are floating above the sea level, when in reality it's just an optical illusion with light. If you ever go to the Isla of Cannon in Costa Rica, you're very likely to find these oddly shaped spherical stones called the giant spheres of Costa Rica. They were made by an ancient civilization in the area known as Discus in the years 300 to 800 CE. They're like those big red balls in Target, you know, the ones you jump off and then end up falling off and cracking your head on. Yeah, those. They were thought to have been placed in front of the House of Chiefs, but their true origin is still unknown. You most likely already know what the Tarracotta Warriors are, so I'm not going to go much into depth on this subject. But basically, Emperor Qin, the one that wanted to unite China into one empire ruled by him, or the Qin dynasty as it would later be known, yes, the guy from the Hero movie, wanted to live forever. Of course, you can't live forever, so he hired over 720,000 laborers to get dirt from the ground, terracotta, and mold it into a full-sized army with color and different facial features to be buried within. But the question is, what else is hidden there? Next up is Puma Punku, which is a place located in southern Bolivia where the Incas thought the world was created from. The structure was built in 500 CE and at the time was filled with brightly colored ceramics and only visited by the elites. It's still unknown about the structure and what its main purpose was because of how little evidence is left at the site. And finally, the curriculum are some mysterious swords, also known as Ulfberht Swords. So around 10 to 170 swords were built in the 19th to 11th century. All of these blades were encrypted with Ulfberht, who is speculated to have been the family name of the creator. These swords are the best you could find in the medieval pyramid, as if you're buying like a PC but just better. Sorry, Mac users. These swords were so famous that people even started making fakes and started selling them to other people, including the Vikings. Everyone wanted these swords because of how well they would slice through armor, as well as the fact that they wouldn't bend or break. But the mystery here is, how were they created? They would have to have heated the metal up to a temperature so high that it was practically impossible at the time. Yet they somehow managed to do it. One theory suggests that they might have traded with the Islamics, which could have helped them reach that high of a temperature. Next up in the curriculum is Where Do They Go?, where we talk about people and objects that seem to have just disappeared without any evidence. First up is the case of Dale Kerstetter, which is actually very scary. So one day, Dale Kerstetter, a security guard in Benford, Pennsylvania for a glass factory, went missing during his security shift. After searching the entire facility, they found absolutely no trace of him at all. It was not until they checked the cameras that they could clearly see that someone had taken Dale into a room and they came out with a bag and had stolen a bunch of platinum. It is still unknown what happened to Dale to this day, as the robbers stole upwards of $250,000 worth of platinum. And the last security footage of the bag was the robbers driving away in their car. Next up is Maddy Hampton, which is a fictional character in the TV show The West Wing. To the point of view of the fans, she mysteriously disappeared from the show, but then it was later confirmed that the reason why she left the show was because her character wasn't really working out with the goals of the TV show. But is there another reason why she left? Next up is Amelia Earhart, who was an aviation pioneer, became the first woman to fly across the Atlantic Ocean alone. She disappeared in 1937 along with a navigator when trying to fly around the world. So where did she go and what the flip happened? Well, evidence has been found on an island in the west of Papua New Guinea where archaeologists have found bones, a woman's shoe, and a water bottle, as well as this picture taken after she disappeared of the island and apparently the bottom of the plane. These bones were found to be exactly the same size and thickness of those of Amelia. So the two were presumably castaways on an island in Papua New Guinea because the plane most likely ran out of fuel. But their true fate remains unknown. On Christmas Eve 1945, a huge fire burned down the Sodder house. Out of the 9 children and 2 parents, only 7 survived the incident, with 5 5 children burning up in the flame. What seems to be interesting about this story was that the firemen were actually not available that night and took 7 hours to arrive to the house, and by the time they got there, the house was just completely burned up in ash. The next day, there were no remains of human flesh or bone to be found, which supposedly would have burned up in the fire. This was actually later disproved by the mom, who started burning animal bones to see what would happen. The fire was apparently caused by faulty wiring, yet for this to be the case, all the lights in the house would have to be turned off, which was not the case the night that the house burned. So what exactly happened to these children? A few rumors state that the children went to live in New York and New Jersey and may have been bought by someone, because there have been evidence to prove that the children survived. As you might remember from the literature section, Edgard Alle Poe was a very famous poet, creating The Raven and many other mystery poems. One night, however, he disappeared. He was soon found on the side of a street, barely conscious, not remembering anything that would happen. When he was in the hospital, he soon died, and he was buried in an unmarked grave, and just a few days after he was found. Was he poisoned, drugged up, beaten up, suffered from a brain tumor? It is still unknown what happened to this day. Now, this next situation is very interesting. Basically, a guy under the name of D.P. Cooper snuck onto a United States flight between 2 cities in the US, and then threatened a flight attendant to give him 20 grand or else he would blow up the plane. He had a bomb in a suitcase, so of course the flight attendant gave him the money and a parachute, and he parachuted off the plane in the middle of a rainstorm with the money in his suitcase. He parachuted down in Oregon and was never seen again. Who could this man be? Why did he steal money and just parachute down? Is he working for a secret society? Why did he only take 200 grand when he could have easily bargained for like $1 million? Next up is starlight, which is this type of super plastic that can withstand over 10,000 degrees Celsius, and it's actually not unknown the maximum that it can withstand, as the majority of the heaters have actually burned down and become unstable when testing the material. It was created by Maurice Ward, and the properties of this material were never revealed to the world. Maurice died in 2011, and the chemical properties are still unknown to this day. He did not give away the materials because he wanted to make a profit out of the material, which is just like, come on, man, why would you do that? One possible reason for not revealing the qualities of this material is because starlight could have been very cheap to make and replicate with cheap materials, so making it patentable would have become almost impossible. So if he gave the recipe away, people would just start fabricating this for much cheaper than he can and just make a bunch of profit out of it. I mean, come on, man! Moving on, Roanoke, which is a small island off the coast of Eastern America, which was founded and explored in 1585, and where the first English settlement was actually made. So all was good in the colony until the leader, Sir Francis Drake, decided to go back to Britain and inform the Queen on the success of the colony. It took him 2 years for him to return back to the colony, as there was a war with Spain and just slowed him down to get materials. And by the time he returned back to Roanoke, the colony was completely gone. The people were gone, there was absolutely nothing left at all. And what's weird was that there was no evidence that people had been there in the first place. John White, the leader of the second expedition, looked around and found absolutely nothing except for one word written on a tree: Croatoan, which was the Aboriginal tribe in the area further south, approximately 50 miles south from Roanoke. However, when he arrived all the way down there was nothing to be found. So what happened? So the Library of Alexandria is this massive library located in northern Egypt and was actually part of the Greek. This library holded all the scripts of Greece and Egypt and contained tons of knowledge. However, it just randomly disappeared around 500 CE. It is thought to have been burnt down, destroyed, but its true fate is unknown. Next up is the Mayan Civilization, which is located in Central and Southern America, and with those cool temples. And what's cool about this civilization is that it had multiple astronomical discoveries that were advanced at the time. However, it randomly disappeared as all of the temples were left inhabitable between the period of 800 to 1100 CE. There were still small interbred groups of the Mayans by the time the Spanish came around. However, their size was nothing compared to the peak of the civilization. It is thought that these people died off because of war, overpopulation, or maybe natural connections, but the reason why they died is still unknown. Many theories also point to the possibility of disease or maybe extraterrestrials abducted them. However, we might never know what really happened to this civilization. Next up is the 10 to 12 lost tribes of Israel, which for some reason disappeared after Moses conquered the Promised Land. They most likely merged with other cultures and other groups in Afghanistan and Pakistan. However, no written evidence has been able to prove that. Did they exist? This section of the curriculum covers everything in the special area curriculum that might not have existed in the first place. First up is Atlantis. What really happened to the lost city of Atlantis? Historians don't really know where this lost city could have been located, but it's speculated that it might have been located off the coast of Spain, in the Caribbean, or maybe even in the Mediterranean. If it did exist, it was of super high and elite utopian standards. It is unknown if it did exist or what happened if it had existed, but it's kind of regarded as fiction because Plato originally came up with the idea in 300 BC. Next up is the 10th planet, which is this supposed planet that exists at the very edge of our solar system. Scientists think they have found evidence that this planet does exist based on the pull of nearby celestial objects. It is thought that this planet is an exoplanet and was put into orbit by another star approximately 4.5 billion years ago, and as a result could be up to 10 times the size of Earth. The Land of Punt is this supposedly mysterious place located south of Egypt near Somalia and Eritrea. There is very little evidence that this civilization exists, with the only evidence being Egyptian written records. What's weird about this place is that they would trade ivory, wild animals, and gold to the Egyptian. To get this straight, there's a civilization in East Africa that would trade gold with the aliens and then all of a sudden just disappeared and was removed from history completely. Doesn't this feel a little fishy? And by fishy I mean maybe aliens. This next one, El Dorado, is most likely a motivator to get Spanish people to come all the way over to Mexico and explore the New World in the 16th and 17th century. El Dorado means the Golden City, and it is thought that the people in this Golden City used gold for absolutely everything. It is thought that this city, if it was to exist, would lay in the middle somewhere in the jungles of the Amazon, but no evidence has been found to confirm that. Now the real question is there somehow a city of gold hidden at the bottom of a jungle area in the middle of the Amazon rainforest? We will never know for sure. Next up is Area 51. This place exists for sure, and the United States say that they use it to test out planes and spy materials back in the 60s. The place is barely in use today, with almost anyone actually working there. So it seems as if it's the perfect place and the perfect excuse to have a secret hidden alien investigation area. The Holy Grail is the cup Jesus used to turn wine into water in the Last Supper in the Bible. It is unknown the location of the cup right now. It is thought that it was passed by down pope to pope to pope until it mysteriously disappeared. Or the real question we should be asking is, did it even exist in the first place? Does New Zealand exist? This is a really tough mystery. I really question why the Scholars Cup added this one onto the curriculum. Probably to make a question out of it in the bowl by quoting some famous celebrity or something. Yes, it probably does exist. I could be wrong though. The only evidence theorists have that this place doesn't exist is the maps in IKEA and Domino's Pizza basically. Basically those maps do not show that New Zealand exists, so no. Next up is the Fountain of Youth, which apparently if you bathe in you would turn back into a child. Basically granting immunity to anyone who had access to the bath for the entirety of their life. This fountain is seen in almost every culture, but could it exist in real life? There seems to be a park in the United States that claims that it has the real Fountain of Youth. I mean, do you really? I mean, is there science to back this up? Like Neil deGrasse Tyson, do you go there like Bill Nye, or are you up there at the scene with a magnifying glass? I mean, that'd be amazing if we had a Fountain of Youth, but as the old adage says, if it's too good to be true, it probably is. Next up, probably one of the biggest space mysteries ever, behind the Big Bang and the creation of the universe, is what is dark matter? What's interesting about this is that when scientists observe the galaxy, based on their mathematical calculations, it's impossible for the galaxy to stay together because based on the gravity of the black hole and the solar system holding it all together. Simply put, there's just not enough mass, because mass is, the more mass you have, the more gravity you have, there's not enough mass to keep the entire thing together. So they theorized that there must be a substance that is enough mass that would create a gravity that would hold the entire galaxy in one spot. This substance is called dark matter. This substance does not behave like matter because of its supposed properties that cannot be seen. It accounts for 85% of all the matter in the universe and is most likely created by a particle that we have not discovered yet. What were they? It is unknown what these people and things were. Let's dive right into it. This mysterious individual goes under the name of Monsieur Chouchani, who was a Jewish teacher who had taught and had great depths of knowledge in science, math, and philosophy. He taught and lived in France right after World War II and died in South Africa, where his identity is still unknown to this day. That's just great. Well-serving people like this guy just hiding their identity. Thank you. My main question is, why would you hide your identity if you're such a great person? So Lori Erica Ruff is actually the fake identity name for Kimberly Maria McLean, who actually ran away from her mother and stepmother when she was 18. She then lived on the hood and ran away for a few years, barely surviving, and then managed to get the fake identity of a girl who burned in a fire when she was a little kid. So, good job for forging that identity. She had a normal life after that, but would constantly fight with her husband because she was keeping so many secrets. She then committed suicide. Her real identity was not discovered until after 6 years after her suicide in 2010. The next scary encountering was the finding of this dwarf found in the Atacama Desert in Chile. What was found was this small, round-headed dwarf humanoid, coined the term Ada. It was first thought to have been an alien, but after extensive DNA analysis, it was concluded that it was just a fetus of a baby that had major disabilities, mutations, and consequently problems such as oxycephaly, which is when your head is much thinner yet taller in size. The baby is confirmed to have been an indigenous fetus that died shortly after birth. You see, this is why I like science that shows us that these things that we think are aliens are actually real people. So one hot day in Tokyo in 1954, a middle-aged European-looking man was passing customs getting to Tokyo for a normal business trip. When he asked for his country of origin, he simply responded with torrid. The customs lady, being a little bit confused, like, Torrid isn't a real country, asked to show him the passport, and of course this man actually showed him a legit passport from this place called Torrid. The lady told the man by saying the country does not exist, and she double checked with the hotels and found that they were not expecting them. So the man, being completely infuriated, was escorted to a hotel room to stay for the night. And of course, just like all of those mystery cases, the next day the guy disappeared and all his things were gone. We will never know what actually happened to him or where he was from. Real question is, who was this man? What did he want? Did he travel and come from another parallel universe? Well, we will never know for sure. Next up is the Somerton Man, which is a man found dead on the Somerton beach in Australia who could not be identified by anyone, either through DNA or fingerprints. There was no gunshots and no wound. What was strange is that they ended up finding a code in his pocket that contained some random numbers and the name of a book called Ramayana, which is this very rare book. Unfortunately, no one knows who this guy was or how he died or what he was doing on the beach. Could he have been a lizard person or a Soviet Union spy? We will never know for sure. Now, bog bodies are these bodies of bogs, often referred to as marsh or piles of mud, and are actually really good at preserving bodies, organs, and skin. A lot of information can be abstracted from these people, such as how they died and exactly what their DNA sample shown, which is why the majority of them were from the Stone Age. Now, this sky object is a meteorite that burned up in space. Many people think it's an alien spaceship, but no. So Greek fire is a type of flamethrower that the Byzantine Empire used in the years 672 to around 678. The mystery here is, what was this fire material made of? Based on accounts, the fire was shot from the side of the ship and would keep burning once it made contact to any boats or the water. So what was this fire ingredient and how did they make it? Next up is the Archimedes Death Ray, which is this huge mirror that Archimedes created in the Greek times to burn off intruding ships in the distance. The next mystery is called Mithridate, which is this heavily sought after cure that could apparently cure you from any poisoning you got. It was used throughout the Middle Ages, with the formula now being unknown. And the mystery being, what was this poison removing shear made out of. This mystery is actually affecting tons of people today and in the past few months, and it's called the Havana Syndrome, where tons of diplomats and politicians that used to work in Havana, Cuba, are now getting a bunch of problems with their brain and headaches because they apparently worked in this area. People now blame the issues of attacks from unidentified technologies in Cuba, as well as similar cases being reported in China. Most likely radiation during the Cold War, or it could have been just, communism infiltrating our brains. In this section of the special area curriculum, we examine strange and randomly occurring phenomena. So scientists have been measuring and have actually dated many old samples of rocks and poetry, and have found that the magnetic field of the Earth is getting slightly weaker over the past 600 years. You can think of the Earth as a massive magnet that protects us from solar rays. Based on the weakening of the magnetic field, scientists have been able to observe that it is most likely going to switch sides in the next 100 years. So the real question is, what will happen if it was to flip? And yeah, you're welcome for the anxiety I just gave you. This triangular area is located right off the coast of the United States and is being credited for tons of ships disappearing, also known as the Burmuda Triangle. Their fate is unknown, with none of the ships actually being found after the disaster. There are multiple scientific reasons of why this area has a high tendency for ship and plane disasters, as well as many not so scientific reasons. One of the scientific reasons is that the sheer amount of hurricanes that go over that area every year, as well as these things called rogue waves, which are these massive, absolutely ginormous waves that can reach up to 50 meters in height, as well as the fact that many boats experience compass failure, something that many people cite as an unusual magnetic properties in the area. The most possible answer is the sheer amount of people that pass through that area on any given day. So simply put, the chance of an accident increases as the sample size of people going through that area increases. Not so scientific theories state that there's a black hole in that area, or that there's aliens that go in there and take people away, or that even like Atlantis is in that area somewhere. I mean, but who knows? I mean, if there was a black hole, the entire world would kind of collapse into itself and we would all be dead right now. So I don't think that's the most possible explanation. On Oak Island in Nova Scotia here on Canada, there's this mysterious pit that is said to be filled with treasure and gold. The history of this island is that a pirate under the name of Captain Kidd buried his treasure and all his gold under the island. The island is said to be cursed because of its violent past histories, with multiple excursions ending in disaster. For example, one group went down to find the treasure, but the entire pit collapsed onto itself. Legend says that Satan cursed the pit, and it's now impossible for anyone to actually discover the area. Some of these secrets include Marie Antoinette's gems, as well as the true identity of Shakespeare. In Belize, Central America, there is this deep, dark blue hole. This hole is approximately 300 meters in diameter and around 125 meters deep. People have gone down there to explore and see what's under this dark, deep blue hole, but they've just really found marine life and just plastic. I mean, really, guys, come on, like, garbage is such a plague to this marine life, and it's just, please don't throw garbage into the ocean. Just put it in the trash, man. I mean, actually, it's destroying the lives of thousands of fish and millions across the world, and it's going to be a big problem if we want to keep eating seafood in a few years. The hole was formed from glacier tens of thousands of years ago, when the sea level of the Earth was much lower. There's actually very little mystery left to this deep hole, as billionaire Richard Branson actually made a complete 3D model of the insides. This next incident for the World Scholars Cup Special Area Part 2 is most likely the scariest of all, and it's called the Dyatlov Pass incident. The 10 went skiing and camping, one of which got sick the first day and had to go back home, and the remaining 9 just mysteriously died one night. And it gets really weird, as out of the 9, 6 died of hypothermia and 3 died of a chest or skull injury. And get this, 2 of the people had somehow gotten their eyes and tongues removed. What seems to have happened is that they all of a sudden ran out of their tent, hurling down the ski slope, and an avalanche most likely killed them after that. But the main reason why they ran out of their tents is unknown. This one's also really strange, where 500 kids in 1986 were having a marching band contest, and then all of a sudden while performing, kids started falling and fainting and had to be sent over to the hospital. Over 300 children suffered, and their suffering is still unknown to this day. It is thought that pesticides or the spread of an illness made this event suddenly happen, but what's the real reason behind this? So the Solway Spaceman is another scary case where in 1964, a girl was posing to take a picture when all of a sudden after the picture was taken, some weird space-side type of guy appeared in the background. Spooky, right? After extensive investigation, it was concluded that it was actually the mom's head that was overexposed in the shot. However, it seems kind of odd because the mom doesn't have super jacked muscles as seen in that picture. What still happened is still unknown, as the possibility of Photoshop and poor camera printing have all been ruled out. So, what really happened on that 1964 day? Finally, the last mystery for part 2 of 3 is called the airfares mystery. There are 2 types of mysteries I found while researching, and I'm not completely sure which one the Scholars Cup wants you to study, so I'm just going to talk about both right now. The first one being the air flight website, which stayed on an air flight price on the website, and then once you go to the checkout menu, it completely jacks up the price up like 2 times. So the mystery is, why does this happen? And the next possible mystery is the fact that the Scholars Cup wants you to study a lot of airfare mysteries, meaning mysteries from the plane, with the most famous one being the Malaysia flight that disappeared back in 2014. It is unknown what happened to this plane as it disappeared, and it seems like it went back to Malaysia and then all of a sudden lost contact and most likely fell into the sea. So that is it for the second installation of the World Scholars Cup special area mystery section. I hope you found this video helpful, and if you did, please share it over with your friends, share it to your teammates, post it on your Facebook, on your Twitter. Just share it everywhere. And as well, gives this video a big thumbs up to show that you like this video, if you support it, if you found it helpful, and also let me know down below what you thought of it. And until next time, stay productive. I'll see you guys in the next video. See you later.
3 wishes.
Make it 5.
4.
3. Take it or leave it.
Okay. 3. You get 3 wishes.